Okay. So we're here in Castor, the Castor Church. I'm first going to talk about Robert Wingfield. Sometimes in society we refer to him as Robert Wingfield I of Upton. He was born in Orford and had brought the family to Upton, the Castor area. And he was the second son of Sir Henry Wingfield and Elizabeth Rooks, and was married to Marjorie Quarles, daughter of John Quarles and Amy Plumstead. Robert Wingfield I, from 1523 to 1545, was the Duke Auditor for Charles Brandon, Duke of Suffolk. In 1529, was admitted to the Gray's Inn. On September 6, 1540, was on the Commission of Gaol Delivery, which is a court which met to hear the accusations against prisoners in jail and decide their outcome. On the 12th of July, 1543, King Henry VIII granted Robert and fee the whole manor and multi of Upton, Ellsworth of Northamptonshire for £250, which previously belonged to the late Queen Jane Seymour. In 1564 and 1570 was on the Commission of Sewers, which ensures repair of dikes and channels to prevent flooding. Robert was a large sheep farmer in the area and had sheep flocks in Upton, Helpston, and Castor. So who knows, maybe that sheep that you saw coming in might be a descendant of one of the sheep that Robert Wingfield had owned. But everything that I learned about him and elsewhere, I was told that he was clearly a significant sheep farmer in the area, because you probably heard earlier in the trip about how important England was with the wool trade and so forth, so that probably contributed to it. Robert's will is dated June 4th of 1574, and its executor was his son and heir, Robert Wingfield, and his cousin, Edmund Hall, was an assistant. Sir William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, and Lord High Treasurer was his supervisor of his will. Robert died at Upton Manor on 4th of February 1574, which was during the 7th year of the reign of Elizabeth I of England, and was buried on the 23rd of February of 1575 here in this church, which, quite interesting, it was against his will's instructions to be buried at the church of Upford, where his wife Marjorie Quarles is buried. And the reason why we know he's buried here is we have the parish burial records mentioning when he died and where he was buried. And so he was the first member of Sir Henry Wingfield's descendant, his son, that came to Upton and was buried in this church. Now we believe, and who I've talked to and so forth, you're not going to find like a gravestone like this in front of me where it says Robert Wingfield. You know, I have his will. I read through it to see, any additional things, maybe giving an indication. I know where it is exactly, but talking with the prior reverend that was here for over 50 years, was apparently a historian of this area and so forth. And he said that if somebody was buried in the church that was of higher class nobility, they would probably would have been buried somewhere in this area here, before the nave. So somewhere in here probably would likely have been buried. And I want to pinpoint this up in the top right-hand corner. You will see, kind of shaded, you'll see the arms of Wingfield and Gossel and so forth. And so not necessarily that's going to be Robert's coat of arms, but it makes reference to the Wingfields here as you enter in here. So when I was here a couple of times, I always took pictures, all around here and then going into the nave of the church. And over the side here is the chapel. But feel free to take pictures here for your records. Now on to his son and heir, Robert Wingfield, Esquire, We also refer to him as Robert Wingfield II, Esquire of Upton. He was the son of Robert Wingfield of Upton and Marjorie Quarles, and was married to Elizabeth Cecil, daughter of Richard Cecil, Esquire, and Jane Heckerton, and sister to Sir William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, and Lord High Treasurer. Robert Wingfield in 1549 was admitted to Pembroke College, University of Cambridge, and in 1552 was admitted to Gray's Inn. In 1559, 1563, and 1572, he was a member of Parliament for Peterborough. Robert's will is dated the 30th of March, 1580. His executor was his wife, Elizabeth Cecil. Sir Thomas Cecil, Lord Burleigh, was his supervisor of his will. This Sir Thomas Cecil was the heir of William Burleigh, the Lord High Treasurer. And so you can see the continuation of the Wingfields and the Cecils, and it continues from there. And if you read his will, he makes references to the Cecils and other documentation that we have when Robert had died. Thomas and others, given the age that he died and so forth, was very close to the Cecil family. They looked after a number of Wingfield family members and so forth. So at that time, the families were very close. Robert died at Upton Manor on the 31st of March of 1580. That was the 22nd year of the reign of Elizabeth I of England, and was buried on the 2nd of April, 1580 in this church. And the last one that is buried in this church is Robert Wingfield and Elizabeth Cecil's heir, Robert Wingfield III, Esquire. He was the wife or the husband of Prudence Croke. He was admitted on the 21st of November, 1576 to Gray's Inn, and he had a long, extinguished career in the member of Parliament in Stamford. He served in 1584, 1586, 1589, 1593, 1597, 1601, and 1604. On May 11, 1603, he became a Knight's Bachelor. And another important historical fact about him is that on the morning of February 8th, 1587, he witnessed the execution of Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, within the castle of Fotheringhay for his uncle, Sir William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, and Lord High Treasurer. Robert died at Upton Manor on the 4th of August, 1609, the 8th year of the reign of James I of England, and was buried the 24th of August, 1609 in this church. And so those are the three Wingfields that we know are buried in this church. Going back in these parish church records, I found a few others, but I haven't been able to find their link to the family. But these three Robert Wingfields are buried here. And we saw earlier Elizabeth was buried up at All Saints Church, and Marjorie Quarles, who's the wife of Robert Wingfield I of Upton, who brought his family here and was a large sheep farmer. His wife is buried up in Upford, which is just north of Upton. So that's all I wanted to say. Feel free now to come take a photo of those coat of arms up there. I encourage you to take some photos around here in the church, walk around for a little bit, and then we don't want to be here too long because I know many of us probably want to get back to the hotel to give us time to eat. And over to the right is, I think, what they refer to as the Lady Chapel.
That must be for the bell, that string.
Also, I would encourage you to look up at the ceiling. This is amazing. What's up here in the ceiling of angels. This is very old. And there's some other ones over here on the left up in the ceiling. So